So for this video, I'm just going to provide the answers for the activity from the previous video, where you had to balance the equations. So for the first question, you were given the chemical formula. You just had to balance it by changing the numbers in front of the molecules to balance the left and the right hand side. So let's look at A. We were given carbon, oxygen, and carbon dioxide. So let's draw our little T diagram. Okay, so on the left hand side we have 1 carbon and 2 oxygens, and on the right hand side we have 1 carbon and 2 oxygens. So they are already equal, meaning this equation was already balanced and we didn't have to do anything. So you can just rewrite the equation as it was, and then that is correct. Then for B, sodium and chlorine. So let's draw our T diagram. So on the left hand side we have 1 sodium and 2 chlorine, and on the right hand side 1 sodium and 1 chlorine. So we need to change chlorine on the right hand side, and we have to get this to be a 2. So in order to do that, we can change the number in front here, and we put a 2 there. But remember, this 2 changes both the sodium and the chlorine. So even though the chlorine is now balanced, our sodium is now unbalanced. So now we need to go back and change the sodium. And we can do that by adding a number in front of the sodium over here. So if we put a 2 there, then that makes the sodium on the left hand side also 2. And now our equation is balanced. It's important though to just make sure at the end by double checking that you in fact did it correctly and that the atoms is balanced on both sides. So just always remember to double check once you have written the final equation. Then for the next one, I'm just going to give you the answer. So that's 2 magnesium or 2 Mg plus O2 equals 2 MgO. Then the last one, I'm going to do this one, but let me just quickly erase everything. So for the last one, iron oxide, things are a bit more complicated. You'll see. So if we draw our T diagram, we have iron and oxygen, left and right. So on the left hand side we have 1 iron and 2 oxygen, and on the right hand side we have 2 iron and 3 oxygen. So now you'll see that both of them are unbalanced. So what can we do? Well, iron seems fairly straightforward. We need this to be a 2. So if we go back to the left hand side and we add a 2 in front, then we now have our iron balanced. But the problem is the oxygen, because on the right hand side we have 3 oxygen, on the left hand side we only have 2, and we can't make a 2 into a 3 very easily. And you also can't just go here and change this to a 3 or change this to a 4. Remember, you are not allowed to change the numbers after the symbols. You're only allowed to change the numbers in front. So now we need to get a bit creative. So what we can do is we can make this a 2, then this becomes 4 on the left hand side, but that's still not equal. So what if we change this, we put a 2 in front of the iron oxide, then this becomes, I'm just going to scratch it out so a bit faster, this becomes 6, but it also changes the iron. Now the iron on the right hand side becomes 4. Okay, but at least now we can fix this by going back to the left hand side. So if we go back to the left hand side, let's quickly erase everything. Then we can fix the iron by making this a 4. Then this on the left hand side is now a 4. And if we go to the oxygen, we need to make this a 6. And we can do that by adding a 3 in front of there. and then this becomes a 6. So just scratch that out. And now this should be balanced. But again, you must just double check and make sure that it is balanced before you write the final answer, or before you go on to the next question. But if we do that, then we will see that it is in fact balanced, and this is the final correct answer. Okay, so I'm not going to go as thoroughly through everything, but hopefully you all understand up to this point. Okay, so for the second question, you were given the names, and you have to provide the symbols and then work out the formula using your knowledge from the previous videos. So we have Li for lithium, and if you go look on the periodic table, there's a valency of +1, and chlorine has a valency of -1. So that is actually quite simple, since it's just going to be LiCl. But remember, you have to go do this step first and go look for the valency, because this isn't always going to be the case. So sometimes there will be numbers in between here after the symbols, which changes things. But something else that changes things is something that we haven't discussed and didn't mention, so you probably got it wrong, but it's not the end of the world. The rest is a bit more straightforward, is the fact that chlorine is a diatomic molecule, meaning it is always Cl2. Just like hydrogen and oxygen is always H2 and O2, chlorine is always Cl2. And there's a list of diatomic molecules that you must know, but we'll worry about that later. So let's just do this example, and we'll worry about the diatomic molecules later. So we have LiCl. On the left hand side we have 1 lithium and 2 chlorine, and on the right hand side 1 and 1. So in order to balance this, we need to change the right hand side. So we put a 2 in front of there, then this becomes 2 and 2 on the right hand side. Then we have to go back to lithium and change that as well. So then it becomes 2, and now it is balanced. So that is our final equation. Then others, I'm just going to put the answers on the board and you can just mark them. Okay, so I think, yeah, that's the final answer for potassium hydroxide. So make sure you have them correct. I don't want this video to be too long, but if you have any questions, you can ask. So for question 3, you were given the reactants, so the start of the equation. Then you had to work out the product by using your knowledge from the previous lessons, and then also balance the equation. So this really involves all of your knowledge that you have up to this point, that you've gained up to this point. So if you could do this, then well done, and you should be set for any of the equations that we could throw at you. So I'm going to put the answers for all of them on the board, and I'm only going to do the last one as an example. Okay, so the last one, we have magnesium and phosphate. Okay, so firstly, let's work out the final product that is formed. So magnesium has a valency of +2, and phosphate has a valency of -3. So if let's do it over here, Mg +2 and phosphate -3. If we then do our normal crisscross method, then the 3 goes over there and the 2 goes over there. So now we are left with Mg3 and in brackets PO4 and outside of the brackets 2. Okay, so now we can finish our equation or unbalanced equation, and then we can go ahead and try and balance it. Okay, so let me quickly just pause here. Okay, I just erased all of everything so we can draw our T diagram. So we are working with magnesium, phosphor, and oxygen. So now we have three that we have to balance. So on the left hand side we have 1 magnesium, we have 1 phosphorus, and 4 oxygen. On the right hand side we have 3 magnesium, we have 2 phosphorus, because remember there's 1 over there times 2 over there, so 2 phosphorus and 8 oxygen, sorry. Let me just erase some of the unnecessary stuff here. Okay, so in order to balance this, let's see what would be the easiest. If we put a 2 in front of the phosphate, then why did that go away? Then we have solved half of our problem, so we can do that. Then this becomes a 2, and this becomes an 8, meaning phosphorus and oxygen is balanced. Now we just need to balance magnesium, and we don't need to do much. We can just put a 3 in front of magnesium, and now this is balanced, and that should balance our whole equation. So again, just at the end, make sure that you double check your answer to make sure that it is correct, but that should be your final answer. Okay, so if you could do all of these and you got all of them correct, then really well done. Then you might have a shot for the last one. So let's quickly have a look at the last bonus question that I gave you. So for the bonus question, it probably took you some time to do if you did do it, and you probably had a lot of trial and error going back and changing things. So I'm not going to go through that whole process. I'm just going to give you the answer, and then we will double check and make sure that the answer is correct. So glucose, the first molecule, that stays the same, it doesn't change. So it's glucose plus 6 oxygen equals 6 carbon dioxide plus 6 water. So that seems quite simple, but it's quite a process to get there. If we just make sure that that is correct, we can draw our little T diagram, carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and we'll see that it is 6 carbon on the left hand side, 12 hydrogen on the left hand side, then 6 plus 6 times 2, so that's 18 oxygen on the left hand side, and then on the right hand side we have 6 carbon, then 6 times 2, so that's 12, plus 6 times 1, so that's 6, so that's 18 oxygen on the right hand side, and then 6 times 2, 12 hydrogen on the right hand side. So carbon balances, hydrogen balances, and oxygen balances, so this equation is balanced. So I hope that you found these videos helpful. If you did get this last one correct, then well done. If you didn't, then it's not the end of the world. But yeah, I really hope that these videos help you with the chemistry and that you now have a better understanding of it. Like I've been saying this whole time, if you do have questions, feel free to ask on Google Classroom. And good luck for the rest of the lockdown, and keep on top of your work. We're really impressed by how committed you guys are. So well done and good luck.